After his performance at UFC 309, Bo Nickal went on Ariel Helwani's YouTube channel and gave one of the most delusional, embarrassing, humiliating interviews I have ever seen, coping about his UFC 309 win against Paul Craig. And honestly, I saw a clip of it. I didn't think it'd get much worse. I watched the full interview, and it was completely and utterly humiliating. We're going to take a look at that in a second. But one thing I want to cover right off the jump is something Bo Nickal has always done, the spoiled brat that he is he hypes himself up, which is fine. He talks about, I want to fight Khamzat Chimaev, and I wanted to fight Robert Whittaker, but I didn't have service. And then when he fights nothing but straight up scrubs and doesn't even look good, he always says, look, I'm just starting out. I don't even have that many fights and this and that. Well, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're talking all this crap about fighters who are further along than you. Some are younger than you, who are looking better than you. You're acting like you want to fight them, and then you don't ever actually fight them because you don't believe in your abilities. The UFC doesn't believe in your abilities. Your teammates and your coaches don't believe in your abilities. And then when you get criticism because you're trying to put yourself up there with those guys, then you fall back on, look, I only have this many fights. I only have this many fights. But not only that, every fan at MSG that was cheering on his boy Donald Trump, he called them drunk idiots. Can you believe that, guys? I'm not kidding. I'm not clickbaiting. All his, fans at MSG or supposed fans at MSG of his boy Donald Trump, he called them drunk idiots. We're going to get to that in a second. Let's start off with this. I want to show a couple clips to really highlight how cocky Bo Nickal has been over the last year or two. This is him on a podcast called The Clash of Combat. I'll link it down in the description. I'll link every video I'm going to show you in this video down in the description, because believe me, when we look at the post-fight and we look at the Ariel Helwani interview, it's completely and utterly delusional. But listen to this. This is about a year ago, just for full context. Listen to what he has to say about Khamzat Chimaev.
So we heard the interviews on Ariel Helwani, I'm pretty sure it's Helwani, of Khamzat Chimaev.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that his wrestling is pretty mid.
It's trash. I won't even say mid. What's
you want
mid?
to say his fakes are pretty good?
Like, dude.
So Khamzat Chimaev's wrestling is trash. By the way, this is around the time that he said he believes he would be a negative 1,000 favorite over Khamzat Chimaev, by the way. But let's continue because he insults fans here as well.
Come on, bro. Like,
he's a 3-time Swedish national champion.
That's sick.
12 wins in 3 years, 0 losses.
That's incredible. 12-0 in 3 years. It's a wild record. Yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like I can say whatever about his wrestling skills, his fighting skills, this and that. We're going to fight at some point, and people
we're going to fight at some point. Sorry, I had to laugh at that.
People will realize that there's levels, and it's just so funny. You go into a world of MMA where there's no other sport where people know less and think they know more. It's incredible. Like, most people, like, if you're a wrestler, you understand the scope, the landscape of the sport, even if you just wrestled in high school.
So he's criticizing fans. Fans don't know anything about the sport because they didn't go to Penn State. Listen, Bo may fight in the UFC. He may have a couple UFC belts, not belts. He's a couple UFC bouts underneath his waist. Okay, but I'll tell you right now, I know Khamzat Chimaev would fuck him up bad. I know that. He doesn't, so I must know more about MMA. Next clip, very quickly. This is him recently with DC. He did an interview with DC during UFC 309 fight week, and again, talking about Khamzat Chimaev. Listen to this.
Opinions of people that come in where it's like, oh, he's going to smash you, you're not good enough, this or that. And then the good part is it's like, this is building up some hype for what is potentially going to be a massive, massive fight.
Yeah.
And if I keep doing what I'm doing, he keeps doing what he's doing, it's going to be such an exciting, special moment.
By the way, I think Khamzat Chimaev will win a title, probably defend multiple times, and by that point, Bo will have already washed out of the UFC. Maybe he's over at PFL at that point.
And that's what I live for. Like, my thing with Khamzat, I've never had like a negative view of him. It's like, I think he's an incredible fighter. I want to be the best. I think he's probably the best. So let's fight. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out who's better, me or you. Let's figure out.
And again, he calls out these guys and talks about them, but it's like it's the hold me back guy. Oh yeah, hold me back. Hold me back. Hold me back. I'm going to mess up Chimaev. Dana, hold me back.
American wrestling, Dagestani wrestling, like, I'm not like one that's really, I'm just very curious. I'm like, I think I'm the best, so let's get in there and test it out.
He's a Chechen.
He thinks he's the best, but he's fighting Paul Craig, a literal scrub. He's fighting grocery store cashier after grocery store cashier. Another clip. This is from UFC 300 post-fight. Listen to this. He's asked about a tweet from Khamzat Chimaev, kind of calling him out a little bit, like poking fun at him for his shitty performance against Cody Bumditch. And listen to his reaction here.
Did you see Khamzat's tweet about your fight?
No, what'd he say?
He said the wrestling was big bullshit.
Yeah, this guy's crazy, man. I think, obviously, like I said, I'm not happy with the way I performed either, so it's easy to be critical. And it's easy to be critical, of me, a guy who has less experience. But at the end of the day...
Again, look, he talks all that shit, and then I don't have that much experience. Leave me alone. I'm a rookie. This guy's so annoying.
I'm getting finishes. This guy's winning decisions. And, he's gassing out at the end of rounds. I'm widening the gap. So, we ever fight, he's coming out hot, but I'm probably winning, first round, second round, third round against this dude and widening the gap. Every day I widen the gap on that guy, to be honest.
But he would never actually fight him. All he's doing is hold me back. Hold me back, Dana. Yeah, I'm getting finishes. You're literally fighting grocery store cashiers. I could put up a better fight than most of the guys Bo Nickal's fighting, okay? Let's be real. Now we jump to the UFC 309 post-fight. I wasn't even going to include this because I watched this first, then I watched the Ariel Helwani interview. And what you're about to see here and hear here, I thought he was kidding around because he kind of smirked at the end. I think he's being dead serious based on what he said on the Ariel Helwani show. Listen to this.
IQ decision. So, kept it on the feet, dominated the whole time, and got the win.
We see some of the markings on your face, and you said your shin is a little banged up. Is there anything else like going to keep you from training? Is it right back in there?
So he's asked about the markings on his face, the black eye he clearly has, a scuff on his nose. I thought he was kidding here. He's not kidding at all.
I got a 7-day suspension from the commission, so we'll be back in a week. But yeah, I think this one, I think I got myself because I don't remember him really ever, landing anything. So that might have been, I might have accidentally got myself.
And I have to ask about.
And then he smirks at I thought he was joking. I don't think he's joking. You'll see in the Ariel Helwani interview in a second. And then I'll let it play a little bit more because he tries to play off the boos because secretly he's brokenhearted over the boos and the overrated chants.
The chants from the crowd. I mean, I'm sure you're not accustomed to hearing that, being NCAA wrestler and everything. Like,
oh my God. Suck him off. You being an NCAA wrestler. I mean, I swear, I think Bo Nickal probably goes to every function, whether it's, hanging out with friends or, he goes to the mall to do some Christmas shopping or he's at Home Depot picking up some plywood for, a home renovation project. And he's probably always talking about his NCAA credentials. And the media has to stroke his ego here.
I was pumped. They were, Bo. Like, how many times does MSG, chant your name for that long? So, I'm pumped about it. It was great.
Yeah, real funny. I think he was brokenhearted about it. I think he was really torn up about it. And the Ariel Helwani interview told me all I needed to know because I am not kidding. I am not over-exaggerating. I am not being hyperbolic. This was one of the most delusional interviews I have ever heard from a fighter. First off, he starts off by saying, yeah, I really dominated the fight. Listen to this.
I'm super happy with my performance. I feel like that was definitely just a real valuable experience for me and my development. And I think that the way I won was a pretty big boost to my confidence, knowing that I can go in there against a guy that has 26 or 27 pro MMA fights.
By the way, look at his lips, look at his nose, look at his black eye. But yeah, he dominated, right? He dominated. I mean, he lost the first round. Second round was close. The only clear-cut round was the third round, in my opinion. Now, I think Bo won. But does this not giving you Paddy Pimblett, Jarrett Gordon vibes, minus the robbery? Yeah, I felt like I looked amazing. He didn't say that here, but he said that in his post-fight interview in the cage, which I can't play on here.
However many, 10, 12 years of experience and shut him out for 15 minutes. So I feel like, yeah, maybe the crowd didn't like it because I didn't knock him out or submit him or whatever it was, but I don't really feel like I took any damage. I looked at the scorecards after the fight.
He didn't take any damage. He didn't take any. I mean, that face is telling me otherwise.
Like not the scorecards, but the statistics, and I have no idea where they were pulling his significant strikes from, because I mean, I blocked every single kick he threw. Like, he landed maybe one or two strikes with his hands that were
He landed leg kicks and body kicks throughout the fight. And imagine being surrounded by so many yes men and being such a spoiled little brat teacher's pet. You're crying about the statistics. I don't know how they got. Now, keep in mind, the statistics are usually wrong. I don't use them to prove any point ever, because historically they're inaccurate. But imagine being so full of yourself, that you're like, yeah, I don't know where they're getting these statistics from. He didn't land on me. I never got touched. And then look at his face.
significant, and I felt like I completely dominated the fight. And that was, I think, a really difficult way for me to win, considering my skill set and the way my other fights have gone. You know, how many times you see a guy fight against a big test, a big step up, and get tired or start to get pieced up or get taken advantage of in areas that he's not as well versed in. So I'm really proud of my performance. And
I honestly, gun to my head, I think Bo Nickal stares in the mirror and masturbates to himself. I mean, do you hear him right now? Just pumping himself up. Yeah, I dominated. I didn't get touched. I don't know where those stats were coming from. This black eye wasn't from me or wasn't from him. It must have been me. I must have actually hit myself. I mean, I don't know that you can get any more full of yourself than Bo Nickal. Let's carry on. Let's jump ahead, because it gets worse, believe me. All those fans that were there on Saturday night, a lot of them cheering for his boy Donald Trump. He literally calls them drunk idiots. Drunk idiots, insulting the entire fan base that's at MSG. By the way, everyone at home felt connected to the fan base at that point in time. I was like, oh, these fans are awesome, perfect. Boo him out of the building, because he fought like an absolute scrub. He didn't even try to push the pace. He hurt Paul Craig, I believe it was in the third round. Didn't even try to attack. He wasn't aggressive in the first or second, and Paul Craig was literally a lamb being led to slaughter. Bo Nickal should have easily won that fight. Paul Craig has no hands at all. And he doesn't like that the fans criticized him. And wait, he talks about the commentary team in a second. Listen to this.
it was funny to hear the chants. It almost just made me laugh, because the crowd and the people that are doing that, I'm looking at. I'll explain it this way. When you get disrespected by people that, in my opinion, have no idea what they're talking about, it's almost a compliment.
I don't think this guy has any idea what he's talking about. I'm going to be honest. I think he's dead behind those eyes. I'm going to be honest. I mean, this guy is going to ride off the... He is the Uncle Rico of NCAA NCAA wrestling. Okay, I don't know. I meant to say NCAA wrestling. But you get the point. This guy's the Uncle Rico of Penn State. Yeah, man, Penn State. I got all these accolades. I don't know what he's done in Penn State. I don't give a rat's ass. Because guess what? This isn't wrestling. Okay? Nobody knows what they're talking about. They're booing me. They don't know what they're talking about.
And so, to feel that from the crowd, it almost just made me laugh, because it's like somebody insulting you who has no idea what's going on. So I'm like, all right, well, it's just almost a compliment to me, because I feel like I controlled the fight. I did everything I needed to do. And if I have a bunch of idiot drunk fans
Everybody there was drunk, and everyone there is an idiot. So all those people chanting on his boy Donald Trump are just drunk idiots. That's what I took away from this. That should be a headline on every news website. Bo Nickal calls fans cheering Donald Trump drunk idiots, because they don't like that he put on a boring-ass performance against a literal scrub in Paul Craig. And he has to fall back on, I have limited experience, but it gets worse. Soon here in a second, he's going to start talking about the commentary team.
They don't like the way it's going. I think that's actually probably a good thing.
In the moment, is it phasing you at all? Are you bothered by it, annoyed by it?
No, I'm happy with it. I think that
that's a flat out lie. He was butthurt about it. I'm telling you right now, I know for a fact. That's in Bo's crawl. How could they boo me? I went to Penn State. I wrestled. How could they boo me? How could the fans boo me? Dana, pat me on the back some more, please.
When I watched the fight back, something that was a little disappointing was the commentary and just kind of hearing the way that they were looking at the fight. And
when I heard this, I literally couldn't believe my ears. The commentary team literally sucked off Bo Nickal 80% of the fight. Oh man, he's standing in front of Paul Craig. If you're a fan of the sport, I don't need to sit here and go on a diatribe for 5 minutes about Paul Craig. If you are a fan of the sport, you know that Paul Craig cannot strike to save his life. Okay? And they were hyping him up. Man, he's standing in front of Paul Craig, which made the most sense. That was a good fight IQ decision by Bo. Because he jumps into his guard, he's probably getting subbed. I don't trust Bo Nickal's jiu-jitsu either. The commentary team was literally blowing Bo Nickal for 85% of the fight. But the minute criticisms that they lobbied, oh, he couldn't stand. He couldn't stand the little bit of criticism they gave him because he surrounds himself by yes men. Dana White hypes him up. He's an industry plant and a teacher's pet and a spoiled brat. And he couldn't handle just a little bit of criticism that he got, which wasn't even anything crazy.
And, it made me feel like they didn't really know what was going on as much. Because anybody that I've talked to that are people that I trust and know shoot straight with me, they're like, dude, you like shut that guy out. Domination. It was a flawless victory.
All my friends and family told me what a good job I did. That's like, I remember back in the day, American Idol, when it used to be popular, there would be the people that go in there and can't sing worth a shit. And their family's like, yeah, they're so great. And they're clearly lying to them. But of course, they're friends and family, so they're going to lie to him to kind of boost their confidence. Bo Nickal's like, yeah, I don't trust the commentary team. I don't trust Rogan. I don't trust DC. I don't trust these guys. I don't trust Anik. I talked. My mom, she told me I did a great job. My mom told me I did a great job out there. And it gets even worse. And Ariel starts blowing Bo soon. Ariel starts straight up blowing him.
And to hear things like, DC say, oh, he's not ready for Khamzat. And I think he was kind of trying to like be respectful, but also trying to like, I don't know.
All right, Dumbo. He's upset that DC said he's not ready for Khamzat. Khamzat would absolutely wreck this dude. It wouldn't even be competitive. I don't even want to see it. That's how non-competitive it would be. Khamzat, I swear on my life, Khamzat with 2 blown ACLs, I'm taking him over Bo Nickal. And he's like, yeah, man, DC said I'm not ready for Khamzat. Yeah, you're not. And that's why you're always crying. Every time you talk about someone, I wanted to fight Robert Whittaker on short notice, but I didn't have any cell service. You're the definite. If you want to fight these guys, you're so good, then why don't you fight them already? This guy's a massive hypocrite, man. It's embarrassing. And it gets worse.
Maybe like set me down a peg. It was just weird to hear. But I just feel like the people that I know that are in my corner who would give me honest, genuine feedback, they're very happy with the victory. I was very happy with the victory. And so that's what I really care about at the end of the day. But it was a little disappointing to hear some of those comments from people that I respect a lot.
Yeah, this guy definitely jerks off to himself in the mirror. I mean, yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. The people that are in my corner told me I did such a great job. Okay, your mom telling you did a great job doesn't mean other people can't criticize you, okay? For a dog shit performance. His corner, his coaches, his teammates, his friends, his family are doing him a disservice. Man, you look so great against Paul Craig. I don't think he looked like absolutely like the worst ever, but I thought it was a very, very lackluster, unimpressive performance against a literal layup in Paul Craig. But he carries on. He cries more about the commentary criticism here in a second. Listen to this. And I think in this clip, I have Ariel literally blowing him. He does it multiple times throughout this interview.
Happy, but then you hear from people that you respect criticism. Does that bum you out?
It just is weird to me. I'm just kind of like trying to figure out what was going on in their mind. I'm like, what were you guys watching, and how is it different from what I saw?
Because they're not biased. Well, technically they are, but in this case, they're not. They literally hyped. If you haven't seen the fight, go watch it and listen to the commentary. They hyped him up 80%, maybe even more, 90% of the commentary was positive for Bo Nickal. He couldn't stand to hear a little bit of criticism. You know, after he looked horrible and got shucked off by Cody Bumdage and started to gas in that fight, Dana was like, it's okay, Bo. It's going to be all right, Bo. You're going to be fine, Bo. You're great. You're an up-and-comer. This dude's almost 30 years old, and people are acting like he's Raul Rosas Jr.
Because I'm also not only watching it myself, but I'm getting feedback from some of the best minds in the sport and people who I really respect. So I'm like, what was going on in these guys' heads? It almost makes me just feel like they don't know what was happening. I'm like,
so DC now doesn't know what he's talking about. Rogan doesn't know what he's talking about. Anik doesn't know what he's talking about. And in this case, they clearly do. I don't remember specifically what they said. You know, he mentions the Khamzat line. Imagine the performance he put on against Paul Craig. And him saying, yeah, DC said I couldn't compete with Khamzat. How dare he? Who does he think he is?
So it's confusing because I'm like, wait, what? Like, how do you get that from that? I looked at the strike count in the first round, and it was like 16. It said he landed like 15 significant strikes. I was like, what? Like, he kicked my arms, you know? Like, are we counting block kicks as significant strikes now? Like, what's going on here? This is so weird. I didn't even get really touched. Like, it was just crazy.
He didn't get touched, boys. He didn't get touched. What's this right here? What's this right here? What's these lips? What's these lips right here looking like Valentina Shevchenko after, 2 months of grueling training camp without drinking any water? I didn't get touched. You got touched. Paul Craig touched you, okay? Pause. Couple more clips. I mean, this Ariel, I swear, sometimes Ariel's so pathetic, man. He's so, like, he grovels to certain fighters and just blows them, and it's so annoying. Listen to this.
Look like someone who's been fighting. I mean, you have 3 years, and that's it. Like, really, what, 2 amateur fights? They were all very quick fights.
But he talks like he can beat elite fighters. He gets on main cards of pay-per-views, even though he's literally a scrub. Oh, I went to Penn State. Put me on a main card.
And then it's a whole career of just wrestling, no striking at all. To go 15 minutes and not shoot a single takedown and win that dominantly, I don't know what people, like, what more do you really want other than...
Oh, my. Zip him up, Ariel. It wasn't dominant by any means. It was a clear win, in my opinion. It was not dominant.
Maybe just a 60-second knockout, and everyone's like, yeah, that was awesome.
You know, you're 100% right. I'm in a lose-lose scenario when I look at the opinions of others. And that's why I don't put a lot of weight into that. I care about the people.
By the way, I want to know where he's at. Is this a hotel, an Airbnb? Is this his house? Can they finish the walls? I mean, seriously, they're missing trim here. There's mud on the walls that haven't been sanded. I mean, what is going on here? I mean, what kind of house is this? That's what I want to know.
Whose opinions I trust and who are actually giving me real legitimate feedback to improve and develop. So,
I mean, think about this. Anyone that gives him negative feedback, they're just an idiot. They don't know what they're talking about. He can't figure out where they're coming from. That he's surrounded himself with yes men. That's all he's done. It's not. I'm telling you, man. Bo Nickal's in for a rude awakening. But who knows? He'll probably fight bums for another 3 years while claiming, oh, sorry, would have fought a top guy, but I didn't have any cell service when Hunter called me.
When I hear other people's opinions, I just can't think about them, and I can't factor them into my thoughts and my decision making. Because it's like, all right, I do what I did. I shut Paul Craig out for 15 minutes, and realistically, take any high level fighter or any person, a high level coach, and have them watch that fight, and they're going to say that was not competitive. It was 30-20.
It was competitive, and Paul Craig should have won the first round. It was far from a domination. If you watch that fight on the street, you'd be like, yeah, that guy probably got the better of him. This ginger guy probably got the better of him. But, it's not like he destroyed him by any means.
27, not close. He had 0 big moments. The only time that he had a good moment was checking a kick of mine, and he landed no power shots. He had no momentum ever. I cut him. I hit him in the body. I hit him in the legs, and I rocked him at the end. If I would have been more aggressive, I probably could have finished him.
Yeah, you didn't finish Paul Craig, who's literally a dead body in the sport. But okay, continue.
So let's take that as, the facts of what happened, and realize that they're mad about that. But if I go out there and knock him out in 30 seconds or submit him or whatever, all they're going to say is Paul Craig sucks. Oh, this guy.
Paul Craig does suck. He's okay. He's a little bit of a step up, maybe just barely from Cody Bumdage. But yeah, he does suck, and you're getting handed layups on big pay-per-views, and you talk a big game, and then when you don't deliver, you can't just say everyone's a drunk idiot. They don't know what they're talking about. DC doesn't know what he's talking about. I beat Chimaev. Well, then fight him. Give this guy the PMF title shot. That's what he is. Let him fight for the PMF. I don't know who he could even fight for the PMF in the middleweight division. Let him fight Sean Strickland for the PMF. Sean Strickland would destroy this dude. But it goes on more.
Guy sucks. Bo Nickal needs to fight better guys. He's a can crusher. And so it's like, all right, well, no matter what, however I win, it's not.
Well, that's because you went to a decision, a competitive decision with an easy layup fight against Paul Craig, who has no striking at all. Pulls guard. That's all he does and looks for subs. That's literally all he does, and he's been getting KO'd left and right for the last year. And you couldn't beat him. Then you claim utter domination. I didn't even get touched when you got a face full of damage. Last clip I'm going to show you, and honestly, I didn't even want to include this, but I just couldn't believe the level of glazing from Ariel Helwani. Listen to this. This is at the end of the interview.
Let's see.
Well, for whatever it's worth, I was impressed. I have a lot of respect for Paul Craig. I've seen him fight at 205 and, of course, now at 185, and I thought that was a very impressive performance when you consider how short your time in this sport has been. Really, 3 years. It's remarkable, and just 7 pro fights. So keep doing your thing. Don't listen to the haters. Some of those New York guys, they could be a little bit rude, if I'm being honest.
Oh, they were rude to you, Bo. They were rude to you, Bo. And this is where the media just completely fails the fans. And this is why the media is literally dying. That's one thing I can't agree with Dana White on.
And there's there's parlays involved, and there's drinking involved, and they don't really mean it, is what I'm trying to say. On behalf of them, I apologize. On behalf of all New Yorkers, don't let it get to you. It doesn't sound like it's getting to you, which I'm happy to see. Congrats on the big win. Congrats on a great week for you.
So there he is, just sucking off Bo Nickal even more. Last thing I want to break down. So Bo's completely delusional. He talks this big game, but then when people say, oh, you look like shit against a subpar opponent, he's like, I barely have any time in the sport. I've only had this many. You're almost 30 years old. You're a grown man, okay? You've been wrestling forever. And you talk this big game, and then you go out there and put on a shit performance, and then you act like you dominated and destroyed them. But I want to call out the media here, because this is something I've broken down so many times, but not much recently. The media has a vested interest in hyping up certain prospects. They go hand in hand with the UFC, and they're basically glorified publicists for the UFC. Now, I know Ariel does criticize the UFC now a bit, but he used to, he not criticize them at all when he was collecting checks from them. But the media as a whole, whether it's Ariel or anyone else, they have a vested interest in hyping up certain guys, because at the end of the day, it indirectly puts money in their pockets. They look at Bo Nickal, they see that the UFC's behind Bo Nickal. They see that Bo Nickal generates some interest from fans, and they see the potential of Bo Nickal. And the better the UFC does in terms of growing stars, that makes their jobs more relevant. That even applies to me. Now, I don't personally care about this, but at the end of the day, this does apply to me, because the more stars in the sport, the more people care about certain fighters, the more money I'm going to make in terms of views and clicks and grow a following online. But that's what a lot of these guys want. They basically want to help the UFC push certain fighters to become more notable in the sport and potential stars. They see that Dana and the UFC is really behind Bo. They want to help push and elevate Bo, and then in turn, it indirectly puts money in their pocket. And that's exactly what Ariel's doing here. That's what Ariel and countless other media members or so-called journalists have done over the years. That's why, a lot of people were hyping up Conor McGregor for many years. That's why, Conor McGregor can't, fart without getting a MMA fighting article nowadays, or an MMA junkie article nowadays. Because at the end of the day, the more stars in the UFC, the better for these MMA media websites, the better for these MMA media journalists. And that's essentially what Ariel's doing here. He wants to hype up Bo. He wants to help push Bo amongst fans, because it puts money in his pocket. Same thing he's doing, basically working for Jake Paul, which he denies. I might make another video about that maybe in the off time. We only have 3 more cards left. until the end of 2024 for the UFC. But it was despicable to see from Ariel here, just glazing Bo Nickal over and over and over again. And this guy, I can tell you right now, Bo's setting himself up for massive failure, surrounding himself with nothing but yes men, being completely delusional, being detached from reality, and giving absolutely humiliating interviews like this, where he calls the fans idiots for lobbying legitimate criticisms. There's a lot of things you can call the MMA fan base idiots for. Lobbying legitimate criticisms is not one of them. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.